Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. You know, when a family is looking for a new home, they generally engage the services of a real estate agent, a mortgage professional, title company, insurance broker. You know, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. It really is a testament to the fact that the real estate profession is a team sport. And no one knows this better than my guest today. Billy Wagner is accustomed to winning insurance industry accolades, and he views his success as a beacon for those in need. When he set out to raise funds for the Folds of Honor, he authored a book on insurance, a subject he knows best. And his book, Insuring Your Peace of Mind, has raised over $30,000 for Folds of Honor. So supporting organizations like this is a way for him and really all of us to prove that our American heroes' sacrifices will never be forgotten. Billy started his agency, Brightway Insurance, Ponte Vedra Beach in 2006, and it is now recognized as one of the top-selling agencies in the U.S. He is obsessed with saving time and simplifying his life to improve upon his core values of relationships, growth, and making an impact. And he has helped thousands of other real estate professionals do the same. Billy, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Thanks so much for having me, Jack. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, you know, we've had folks on here in the insurance, real estate industry, and we mostly talked about, you know, how they work with their clients and customers. But for you, someone that has actually kind of risen beyond that, and now a lot of other real estate professionals look to you on really how to build for that playbook on how to put together a successful real estate services company. And I know for you, building a successful and profitable real estate services businesses, whether it's a mortgage company, real estate agent, title company, it starts with the people on your team. So I'd like to kick it off by asking you, why is that foundation so important to you?
Yeah, I think in the very beginning of starting a business, it's one of the hardest and most difficult things is to build a team. And I've have a lot of expensive experience in that area where I've made those mistakes. And ultimately, when the light bulb went off for me is when I made so many mistakes that I had to kind of solve this problem. And I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to solve it correctly. And I built this process. And every time I analyze and look at it, I try to make it better. But we have 20 steps that it takes to come to work for us. And a lot of folks ask me about this process. And to me, it's one of the most fundamental, foundational things that I can look back and go, that's a win. And really the idea behind it, you know, talent acquisition and finding people is one of the hardest pieces of running a business. And it's not only how do you find people, but it's how do you find the right people. And so what we like to do is just have a giant funnel where, you know, we just hired somebody in our business 2 weeks ago, and we had 300 applicants. And so a lot of folks are saying, well, how are you finding those people? And so we've kind of went through these different strategies on, you know, how do we find them? And we use some different techniques that have really, really helped in, you know, gaining a lot of applicants. And then we have all these steps to make sure that we're only letting the best of the best in. I like to say we have 99% turnover before anyone gets hired here. We're very selective. And I think that's a really smart strategy in building a successful business.
And yeah, I can see so. And you said something, you know, I think critical, but maybe easily missed by a lot of folks. Is it's not about hiring people, about hiring the right people. And I know for you, something that you talk a lot about and something important to you is the core values of your company. So I want to get into the tactical parts of, how you put together your teams. But I think what I want to do is get into the foundation of that. And I know that that has a lot to do with, like I said, your core values, and then even deeper that a lot of successful entrepreneurs talk about is their why. So let me ask you that. What is your why, and why is it your why?
Yeah. So I think it's, I've always been a happy person, but it's trying to figure out like what is it that truly makes you happy. And for me, it is helping others. And I have a goal that I want to help 10,000 people directly make a positive impact on their life on a one-on-one basis, where they say that I made a difference in their life. And, doing something like this today is helping me do that at scale. But really, I've been doing this for the last 7 years, where I literally try to do something every day to help somebody. And I spent an hour with somebody on the phone right before this call, trying to, again, help them where they are. And so that is my why, is the people that are in my inner circle, my family, my kids, my team, my referral partners, the folks that we do business with all the time. I'm trying to lift them up and help them. And I think that's what's most important to me. That's what makes the hair on the back of my neck stick up, is helping others. And I've just been a student of the game, and I'm trying to learn and trying to give back to the folks that are in my life. So that's my why, is to try to, again, have a direct positive impact on somebody. And, from the core value side, I think it was probably about 5 years ago, I said, what am I trying to accomplish? Where do I want to go? And, I created these core values, which are, to make an impact, which we kind of talked about as the why, but the other one is the growth. And I think in life, people are happiest when they're growing. And so I am constantly looking for ways not only to have personal growth, but to also help others grow. And that's part of fundamentally how we run our business and how I interact with people, is I'm constantly trying to ask questions and trying to grow. And ultimately, the relationships is the other one. And, that's really kind of what we're all here for, is, trying to create these relationships. So whenever I make a decision on anything, I'm filtering it through those core values of, can I make an impact? Will I have growth? And will it help me better the relationships that I have? And so that's really helped me kind of leapfrog and make better decisions. And in order to do all that, you have to simplify your life, because we're all busy and we're overscheduled. And, I definitely have some strategies there that we've done to do that.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about that, because I know, like I said at the top of the show, you're obsessed with saving time and simplifying your life. And a lot of people would think that, well, that's a contradiction with growth. As to growth, you got a busy, active. So how do you reconcile those two, simplifying your life while growing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so, I think it was several years back, I took on a pretty big responsibility where I was going to need 20 hours of my week back. And I literally analyzed everything that I was doing to the minute and looked at every single possible scenario to gain those 20 hours back. So I've got, obviously a thriving business. I've got 2 young kids. I'm coaching youth sports. I'm involved in several boards. And so it is a lot of stuff that's pulling at your time, and all of us are really busy. And so I just did some insane things. I mean, I have a self-making bed. I have a robot that I can be inside of my office when I'm not there. I literally shaved. I mean, I'm lasered the hair off of my face so I don't have to shave. I bought a self-driving car, which Elon Musk kind of sold me a bill of goods. It's not really fully self-driving, but I have a 4-mile commute, and it's a straight shot. I have a personal assistant. I literally got 20 hours. I automated everything in my life that I could automate. So if a company wouldn't do business on autopay, I no longer did business with them. I outsourced every single task at home. And I did this over time. And I believe like discipline is freedom. And so I focused on putting the most important priorities on my calendar first. The time with my kids, the time with my wife, the time to have that growth. I have my peak time scheduled where I'm working and organizing things, but I have literally analyzed my time to no end. And I think we're again all over schedule, but if you really look at it, we do have a lot more time than we think. And it's kind of, where are you wasting your time? I noticed I was wasting a lot on my phone. Like, we're all kind of glued to that phone, and my kids have parameters on there. I just put parameters on there for myself. So it did all those things to kind of, again, simplify your life so that you can actually tackle the things that really matter to you. So you can go after those core values and where you want to try to grow. But in order to do that, you got to kind of weed out and declutter all the other things.
Yeah, well, when I said you were obsessed, I think that was probably an understatement, because it sounds like some of the stuff that you've done, you have really got it down to a science on and the links that you go to be able to do that. So let's talk about how that translates into your business and how you're building a team, and then also once you do the hiring, how you manage that team and manage, because I know planning and things like that can really get loose from a lot of people, and something that a lot of leaders struggle with. So let's start with that. Go back to the beginning on that team building and that hiring. So what is it that you do? How do you build the team, and, to use your words, the right with the right hire? Where does that begin?
Yeah. So again, we kind of, on the strategy side, I think there's a couple of key things. One, when we put out an ad, a lot of times people don't really understand our business. So we kind of have to put an ad that's a little bit different, that stands out. So when we're promoting, we promote it a little bit different way, and we actually get testimonials from our team and put those in the ad. And when we did that, it was about a 500 times return on the number of applicants we got, because people kind of understand that having a great culture is very rare. And so we build that into the ads. Like I said, when we hire somebody, we like to have a minimum of 100 applicants. The last time we got 300 applicants. And you have to build in a system, again, to manage that, because, again, I'm looking at time too. If something takes 10 minutes, I'm looking, how do you make it take 9? And so we build a lot of automation into that very front end process, where they do an email interview, and we address kind of their income expectations, and we ask about 7 or 8 questions that are almost tell us without fail whether this is a good candidate to move through the process or not. And so that email interview really kind of weeds people out really well. And then they do a personality test, they do a cognitive test, and then they do a phone interview with one of the team members on the team. They have to submit a video of why they want this role and why it's important to them, so we can see how they are on the phone, and we can also see how they are on camera. Then they do a second interview with another team member. We have characteristics on what winning looks like in their position, and so we rate them on those characteristics. And then by the time it's the third interview, or the 12th step in our process, is when I get involved. And I am, diving a little bit deeper into the role, the responsibilities, and I'm actually trying to talk them out of coming on board. And so, I think, a lot of times when you're interviewing people, it's like two people lying to each other. You're telling them how great everything is, and they're telling you how great they are. And so I really just like to play the movie out for them and tell them all the bad and all the good and everything in between, so they really can picture themselves in the role. And then we don't bring on anyone else unless we have complete 100% buy-in from the team. So we do a panel interview with the entire staff, and each person asks it's mostly a culture question, whether they're going to get along with everybody in the office. That's really important to us. And then when there's a few other steps in there, but they're administrative steps. And, we have a 12-week training program. We give them their own business plan. We tell them what winning looks like in their role. I think when you asked, how do you kind of get them onboarded? I think that's a lot of business owners make the mistake, and we underestimate the time and what's required in that to make somebody successful. So we clearly spell out what winning looks like. I believe to be unclear is to be unkind. And so they know, based on a lot of data and information, what winning looks like, specifically what the desired outcomes are for their role, and then they go through a 12-week training program. They're a ninja. By the time they go through that, it's timed to the minute. And then at that 90-day, after that 12 weeks are done, we do a full business plan with them and review their performance over the last 12 weeks and really set them up for success for the future with us. And so that's just our hiring part. I look at all that as like onboarding of them. And then we do a bunch of other stuff once they come on board to kind of, keep everybody rowing in the right direction.
Well, yeah, it definitely sounds like, that's one of the keys to your successes is you do really make sure that you have the right people. And in this day and age, in fact, I just did an episode with an employee engagement expert, and we're talking about this time that's going on right now, what's being called the Great Resignation, and how difficult it is to retain employees, not just attract new employees and talented employees, but also to retain the talented employees. And that brings me to something you mentioned when you talk about your culture. Right. So go into that a little bit deeper. Define what that culture is and how you go about creating that culture. Is it something that happens organically, or is it something that you did purposefully?
Yeah, I think the culture is really important, and it's to me it's kind of the conversation that's going on about your business in the marketplace by your team. And that's kind of how I look at it. Like, what are they saying about working there? And we're very intentional about it. And we look for wow moments. We have somebody on the team that their position is called executive of belonging. And their job is to make sure everyone feels like they belong on the team. So it might be that they had a rough day and, we order pizza for them at night. Don't worry about dinner. We're going to take care of dinner. I'm sorry you had a rough night. And that person is, has the debit card, and they're just responsible for doing that. Or they might take somebody to lunch or just do something. Again, people want to feel like they're cared for and that they belong. And so we have somebody that is completely dedicated to that. I think it's also making sure that, you keep you spice it up and you keep it interesting. Like, we'll do like a fall bucket list, and we'll come up with 20 things that, we want to, that everyone should try to do, like watch a sunset, have a picnic, and, go mini golf, whatever. And you put it on a bucket list and we do it together, and you get a prize, whoever fills it out. And so you're doing things at home that kind of the team is also a part of. We like to gamify things. We run contests. We surprise them with things like pajama day or bring your dog to work day or breakfast in the morning that they weren't expecting. We do community events together. We do, charitable work together. We actually let them fire one client every year because they're very difficult to work with. And so we just do things differently. We also pay off debt matching. So if they pay off a certain amount of debt, we match it. So every year we're trying to do unique and different things with our benefit plan and try to improve things so that, again, they feel like this is a get-to place to work, not a got-to. I get to work there is kind of the goal. That's the vision that we're trying to create. Well,
and I think right there is, that to me, that's just tremendous. And what a huge difference that makes in someone's life when they wake up every day and think, I get to do this rather than I have to do this. And for you to be able to put that into a concrete plan, just really seems invaluable. One of the things that you said makes me really, think about, I think what creates that culture is when you talk about the panel that you put together, where your employees have actually participate in bringing on a new person. And I think one thing that does is it just makes it very clear that you value their ideas and opinions. Do you think that that's something that goes into creating the strength of that culture?
Yeah, no doubt. And there's a bond and a friendship. We've been through a lot together and we know each other really well. And And I think that, and we're very careful about who we, again, let into our environment, and they protect it. And that's why I want them to be a part of it. And so I think that's huge. And when you have great people, they want to run with other great people, right? And so we do have a process where we kind of do a lot of recruiting. Like, a lot of our staff comes from referrals from our internal staff, from people that they know. And so, again, they're a big part. And, in some of those steps, the team is playing different roles in that step too, based on what their strengths are. And so, I think having them a part of it is really important. I mean, we run the business collaboratively. We've got good systems and good processes, and we design outcomes together, but it's based on, kind of that collaborative environment, and that's worked really well for us.
I'd like to go back to something that you said. I wrote down was you talk about the training process of a new hire. I think it was 12 weeks. Is that what you said? The training. So let's talk about that. How do you train your team, and then beyond that, just what are their accountabilities, and how do you hold them accountable to those?
Yeah, those are great questions. I think most people struggle with that accountability piece for sure. And so for the onboarding of the training, it's really about being very intentional on what's required and looking at the experience of your business and saying, okay, how can we make this remarkable? How can we, in order to be remarked about, you have to be remarkable, right? So how do you deliver these wows? So, like, for instance, like the onboarding of a new client or a new relationship, we spend 2 solid 8-hour days just on that 4 to 5 minute introduction. Like, it's literally insane. Like, they should know 100% how to have that conversation, how to build rapport, how to, we answer the phone, how can I make this the best call of your day? It's a pattern interrupt. It's a different way of showing up. And so we have these things that we do. Like, we also say we lead with smile and kindness. So we have to teach people, you hire for that, but you also teach some of the strategies around that. And so when they come on board, we teach them everything we can from an administrative role, and they start playing all the different roles in the agency, every single task they do. Just like when I started the business, I was responsible for taking out the trash and cleaning the office. And when somebody new comes on board, they're responsible to learn every single role in the business. And they might only do it for a couple of days, but it's all scheduled and organized and worked out to where every single minute is scheduled. And every single Friday, there's a training person that's responsible for resetting the schedule based on how they did, what pace they were on. We have a general ledger that says there's the 12 weeks and here's what they are. But some people go a little bit faster and some people go a little bit slower. So every Friday we reset it for the following week. And we have multiple check-ins. We've got videos built. We've got time for them to do independent work and practice it. And so, like I said, they become an insurance ninja by the time they're going through our stuff. And we don't hire anyone with experience, so we're training everyone from the ground up. And then, as you mentioned, from the accountability side, I think it's one of the best things we ever did is having a weekly meeting. And we have a 30-minute weekly meet. It's actually 32 minutes. We do it at 10:30 in the morning every Monday. And there's a set agenda, and everything is, again, timed to the minute. And everyone has their responsibilities, what we call a scorecard or a scoreboard, and it's out in the open. And what everyone is responsible for, their desired outcomes, is clearly laid out. And they get to do a presentation. It's only about a minute long, each person. And they say, this is where I won this week. This is what I'm proud of. And this is what I'm working on to try to improve. And so I don't have to hold them accountable because I gave them a business plan. I gave them the structure of what winning looks like. And I told them what the scoreboard should read. And now they're accountable to each other instead of me. Like, hey, if they didn't do something, typically they're saying, well, my phones were down this week, but I'm going to make up for it next week. So you build these accountabilities metrics into your process. And that really helps with the operation of the entire agency. And then we look at their goals on an annual basis. And so we have an annual planning meeting where we kind of go through and decide what our goals are going to be. And then we break those goals down into 90-day increments and by the person. And we actually put together an annual video that has all of our goals, all of our strategies and tactics for the year, and it has each person's individual goals and then what the agency goals are in total. And so that's the built-in accountability of what we said we were going to do, because we said we were going to do it. It's in our face, and we'll just literally pause it at the time of their video and go, how you doing on what you said you were going to do? And no one has that kind of accountability, but it's built in and it's part of the culture, and it's not somebody leading with like rigor. It's somebody that's cares about them winning, and that's the only thing that we're caring about, is that they're successful, and then they fall in line with the way that it's structured.
Hey, I got to say that, to me, one of the truest principles in business and just about anything is that, what gets measured gets managed. And you seem to have that down, to a science in measuring and measuring these metrics. So let's talk about that. When you talk about those goals, how is it that you set those goals? For your team, or do you do it by individual, or do you by team? When you talked about those desired outcomes, how are those desired outcomes defined?
Yeah, I love that question. And so we spent a lot of time and energy on this, and we're really always trying to improve it. And again, it speaks to kind of the lack of turnover we have, because I think people are growing more in our environment. And that's my commitment to them, is that when they come on board here, they're going to be a different person. And so we do a couple different strategies. We kind of have used kind of this best year ever type of a strategy or like Zig Ziglar used to do, these kind of, you break out the wheel of life and you look at, each part of your life, whether it be financial, family, spiritual, like intellectual, you break it into this wheel. And we have these questions that we ask each team member, and we have them rate themselves. And we actually have them in there. There's like 20 questions in each category, and we have them star next to the ones that are most important to them. Do they want to have a daddy-daughter date night every week? Is that really important to you? Or, what is important to them is what's most important. And so they come up with those goals, and then we put those goals into that annual meeting, and there's the accountability of that in there. And this year, we're actually into the process of doing what we call a one sheet, which is a one sheet of all of your goals. And it talks about kind of what your bucket lists are for life, what your sales goals are, what your income goals are, what your investment goals are. It literally, your health goals, it puts everything that you want to accomplish in your life down to one sheet. And that's what we're going to kind of do this year. So we're constantly looking for ways for them to grow themselves. And then we do the same thing for the business. And so we have a business plan for the business, and we put sales goals together, and then we will announce kind of the sales goal, and we'll say what percentage of that can you tackle? What are you going to own? And then each person says, I will take that. I can do this. And then that's how we kind of design that annual goal. And at our monthly meetings, every month we have a meeting, and we review those. We review the annual video, and we review where we are on our 90-day goals and our annual goals every single month. And so there's the accountability of where we are now and where we're trying to head. And so that's worked really well for us in, accomplishing things that we never thought we could have done in the past. And we're doing ridiculous numbers. Like, most people don't believe what we do in sales volume. And it's just about getting a little bit better every year as well. That's how we've done it.
Well, if you were a coach, I can't imagine how you wouldn't be in the Super Bowl each year with the way that you have put this together. I have to ask you, when we talk about meetings, for a lot of people, myself included, when I hear meetings, I break out in hives, because I think a lot of people's experience, meetings are time wasters. People to just like to move their mouths and hear themselves talk. But something tells me you do it much differently, especially, I think you mentioned, what was it, a 32-minute meeting? To be that precise.
Yeah.
Just that precision tells me that you don't allow it to get away. So let's talk about that. How do you handle that, meetings like that? How do you keep them at that precise 32 minutes and get the most out of those?
Yeah, so that's a great question because I hate meetings. I really don't like them, and we'll do an annual meeting, we'll do a monthly meeting, and we'll do a weekly meeting. But I think to me, one of the biggest places that most businesses fall down is on communication. And so I don't think you can over communicate, but I think what happens a lot of times is, and you've heard the story, like that meeting could have been an email or something, that's what you have to avoid. I'm always thinking about everybody in the audience and what they're thinking. What is their internal dialogue going on when the meeting is going? Is it adding value? So if I'm planning a monthly meeting that will last an hour, we usually will do it over lunch, so it's not like kind of interrupting people. We'll do it over lunch. We'll take care of lunch, and I will probably spend 2 hours planning that 1 hour meeting. And so I am going to make sure that there is 100% value because I value time so much that I'm going to make sure that that meeting 100% delivers on what it needs to deliver on. And so we're very careful about what we allow in it and what we allow on the agenda. Now, the weekly meeting is built upon process and structure. And so that meeting could almost run if I'm not even there, but it's because everyone just kind of falls in line to the process and we're accomplishing what we need to accomplish. And one of the things we do in that meeting, which is actually kind of a cool thing, we started doing it as a family. On Sundays, we do a family meeting. And the purpose of that is to make sure that, we're not fighting and there's no drama in the house. So if the kids leave socks on the floor, we're not addressing that with them right away. We're putting it on the agenda and we're dealing with it together collaboratively. And we do the same thing on our business. And it's like brought harmony to our family because we don't fight about things and we don't raise our voices about it. We just put it on the agenda and we collaboratively figured out the best way to solve it. And the kids are most likely going to follow it if they play a role in actually coming up with the strategy. Well, I was doing that at home and it was working so well. I'm like, why am I not doing this in the business? So, if there's an issue or there's a problem that comes up in the business, then the team member just puts it on the agenda. And it doesn't mean they have to have the solution. It just means this is a problem we've got to tackle. I don't want Johnny going up to Sally and saying, can you believe this happened? Nothing good happens from that. It's like, you throw up and you feel better, but you made everybody else sick. And so that doesn't help anybody. So what we do is we put it on the agenda. Somebody introduces the topic, and then we solve it collaboratively together. And if we can't solve it, we call it a brush fire, and we put it, or a parking lot or whatever, and we put it into another thing we do called a workshop. And we do those once a month too, and they're 1 hour long. And we tackle something that might not be able to be handled in that 32-minute meeting. And so it's just a process for handling all the things that could possibly happen in the agency. And it's a process to make sure everyone's communicating. And it's got that built-in accountability as part of it as well.
Well, I think that has to bring me back to when you talk about that accountability. So I have to press you on this in that no matter how, well orchestrated things are and how much planning and goes into something, there's always things that could go sideways. And I'm sure that there's times when maybe an employee falls short of those goals. Can you talk about when it gets to that, when, we talked about the training and the implementation and the planning. Let's talk about the reviewing process. So how does that go when you're doing an employer review meeting and both, I guess, when things, go as planned or better, but also when someone may fall short of the goals and those outcomes that were established?
Yeah, no, that's really great because I think that'll help a lot of people is that, I don't do a whole lot of, I don't do a quarterly review with team members. What I want them to know what winning looks like we talked about, and be very clear about that. And I spend a lot more time doing an employer review, and I'm asking them questions that I want to make sure that I'm doing the very best job that I can for them. So I'll ask them questions like, do you have all the resources you need for your job? Do you have all the equipment? Is there something that's bothering you just a little bit? I'm trying to make it a better place for them. And I look at that as like them telling me periodically how, and we do it I do it with one person once a week, and I have another leader that does it with another person, so that we can hit everybody on the team in a quarter. And it's really just making sure they feel personally cared for. And so the results happen when we do our weekly meeting and we do our monthly meeting. And then we're also in that monthly time looking at it from a quarterly basis. And then annually, we will look at it annually as well. And so the great thing, before I had the structure and that systems and process in place, I had a lot of people that were missing the mark. But when we train them right, when you tell them clearly what winning looks like and you give them the amount of activity that is needed to win, they will win. And that's what most leaders fail on, is they don't tell them exactly what it takes to win. And then ultimately you've got to dissect. When somebody is having a problem or having an issue, then you've got to just dissect it. Is it a people issue? Is it something that they're dealing with individually, or is it a process issue? Is it, where can we figure out what's going on with it and help them blow past and win it? Everything in the business is my fault. So if there's something that's not working right, I take full responsibility for it, and I just say, look, this is my fault. It's not going well, and either we did something wrong here or there's something I need to help you with. So that's kind of how I approach it, and that's been very well received. And people don't feel like they're micromanaged. They feel like we tell them what winning looks like, we show them what winning looks like, and we incentivize them to hit those marks so things get better for them.
I got to say, that is just fascinating and brilliant, the way that, rather than addressing issues as to where they could view them as attacks on their performance, the way that you turn that and say, what can I do to help you do better? And it kind of forces them to reflect on their performance without making that the focus. And I imagine that just is a completely different. It doesn't put people in the defensive mode. It actually creates an environment of ideas for growth. So I think that is just remarkable. So when you do that, and I know we've talked a lot about the meetings, and you mentioned the annual meeting, and I'm not sure if we covered it really completely, because I imagine that has a pretty big scope. Is that annual meeting? Is that both planning and review that you're doing?
Yeah, so it really just starts with I do this with myself personally, and we do it with another one of my leaders. Is we just literally sit down with a yellow legal pad. I mean, it sounds very simple and basic, but we look at the entire year and say, okay, what were the results? Where did we win? Where did we lose? And we look at the individual performance of each team member. And we ask ourselves the question, would we rehire that person again if we were going through the process? And then we set those business planning sessions with each team member. We review and align all of our responsibilities, our scorecards, our KPIs, our incentives. All that stuff is lined up. We look at our goals for the year, and we start kind of it's almost like it's a brainstorming session. It's kind of like, and we come out with what is our theme going to be for the year? So last year it was fun under pressure, because we're super busy, but it's also, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stuff, but we kind of look for ways to have fun. And so each year we kind of look to put a different angle on things. And then once we kind of have that brainstorming session with the leaders together, then we bring in the whole team. And we'll usually do a training session. We'll bring in somebody outsourced, somebody that's very successful, to come in and teach on a subject, so it's a different voice than me and the other leader. And we have that meeting, and then we go through and do some deep dive on something specific from a training perspective. And then we again set the annual plan with the team and go through that. So it's usually an entire day we spend, and then we usually kind of do something fun. We might like last year we went to Savannah and spent the weekend at Savannah, and just kind of enjoyed each other's company, and we had a business session, and then we kind of had some fun and celebrated our year. So that's kind of how we look at things from an annual perspective, and create all that stuff to put in our annual video and to put in our business plans and to kind of set our year straight, and then it's about executing.
Well, it certainly puts that a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down into a literal perspective right. When you do that. I think that, in action, it certainly works. And so I certainly understand, why your strategies and your methods are so highly regarded in the, in the realm of real estate with, mortgage professionals, real estate agents, insurance and so forth. But I can't see why this just wouldn't be, game changing for just about any industry or business where it's critical for their team to function in this way. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. I mean, we spend a lot of time with those, real estate professionals and centers of influence, and that's kind of, it's kind of my inner circle. But yeah, this I think applies to anyone. And, I just enjoy being a student of the game, and I'm constantly looking for different techniques and strategies and learning. And I invest a lot of money with coaching and things like that to where I'm better, because I want to help the people that are around me, and I want to help them become better. And I enjoy just kind of sharing things with them that are difference makers for their business.
Well, I have to say, I know the clock is ticking, but I mean, you've just given some incredible, concise, concrete value today, and I want to thank you for coming on and sharing this information. It just really is solid, and I think it's eye-opening, I'm sure, for a lot of people that are struggling with this right now. So thank you for coming on and sharing this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to do it.
So I have to ask, how can, real estate professionals, mortgage, real estate agents, or just about any professional, someone who wants to put your playbook into action, how can they find out more about Billy Wagner and how to get involved?
Yeah, so you can find me online. I'm very active on social media, on Facebook. You can search Billy Wagner. You can also email me at billy.wagner@brightway.com. And I'm in the process of kind of writing a book to try to help with some of these strategies, and would love to kind of get that out there in the marketplace. So always want to help other people. So if there's somebody that I can help and something resonated with you, I'm happy to share some time with you.
Well, definitely an influencer in my book. So once again, thank you. We'll put the links to some of those ways that they can connect with you on the show post. Folks, there you have it. This is just really remarkable stuff. Like I said, you can go far beyond the realm of real estate. These are just solid principles from a guy that's doing it right, especially in a time when people are struggling to find and keep employees. Billy Wagner definitely has the playbook on how to do that exceptionally well. So until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today.